What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Zach Chip Coffee. Today we're going to be talking about how and why we cup coffee.
Honey, 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 honey.
Okay, so coffee cupping is essentially a way for us to evaluate and taste different coffees. We do this for many different reasons, be it for quality control, buying, selling, whatever. There's many different reasons. Even if you're just wanting to taste different coffees, it's a really good protocol to try and pick up and follow. If you want to learn a little bit more in depth on how to cup coffee well, I've got some previous videos, coffee cupping skills. There's part 1, 2 and 3. Go check them out. They'll dive a little bit deeper into all the little tips and tricks you can do to get better at your cupping. Okay, so what will you need to start cupping? Well, essentially, you need to learn how to taste. So the way we taste it, I'm sure if you've ever been to a cupping or seen people cupping before, you just hear these massive slurps and it just sounds really weird. There's nothing attractive about cupping. I'm going to tell you that now. So if you're wanting to be a cupper, prepared to burp, to spit, to choke, it's not pleasant to begin with. I promise you. But what we essentially want to do, if it's like wine tasting or whiskey tasting, if you've ever done anything similar to that, you're trying to get the liquid in your mouth and aerate it so your olfactory bulb can really pick up what's going on in your mouth. So essentially it's like getting the air moving on your tongue, and then that's going to go around your olfactory bulb and it's just moving all the senses about. But then when we're actually cupping with coffee, you'll have a spoon like this. It's essentially a fancy soup spoon, really, and you'll pick up your coffee liquid and it's quick, sharp burst, and that's going to help really aerate the coffee and just get it all through your nasal passages and just get it tasting all the lovely coffee aromas. So, what equipment do we need to do coffee cupping? Well, we're going to start with the spoon, a cupping bowl, kettle, grinder, scale, good coffee, and also water. So water is quite an important one, it's quite an interesting one. Depending where you are in the country, you'll have different softness and hardness levels of your water, which will give different total dissolved solids, give you a different TDS reading. So if you're doing quality control in a roastery, for example, you might want to do some of your quality control with just tap water, because some of your home customers will literally just take water from the tap rather than filtered. But you'll also want to do some quality control with SCA protocol water, which you'll be able to find in, again, my previous videos. Go check them out if you haven't already. So yeah, so the equipment itself isn't too difficult to find. You can get coffee cupping spoons, particularly from roasteries, tend to sell them a lot. You can definitely find them online, but they are like, if you're not wanting to spend like too much, you can just use a soup spoon. It's pretty much the same thing. Next, cupping bowls. So cupping bowls are a bit different. If you want to find specific cupping bowls, you can just Google coffee cupping bowls, and there are loads of companies out there that make them. They're not too expensive. But if you're starting to build up a lot of them for a coffee roastery or anything, then they do start getting a little bit pricey. Another thing to do that I use quite a lot is coffee cupping glasses. So Duralex, I nearly said Durex then, that's a different kind of cupping. So Duralex, the French glass company, they make some really good durable glasses, really good dishwasher friendly. If they break, they cost like nothing to replace. And they are, yeah, really good coffee cupping bowl replacements, or alternatives even. Kettles, any old kettle will do. It'll help also if you've got a thermometer. I would maybe recommend a thermometer if you're wanting to get accurate with your water temperatures. If you've got a fancy kettle that can boil your water to a specific degree, even better. But yeah, kettles, it doesn't really matter too much. You can have a bog standard kettle, you could have a really fancy kettle. it's up to you. If you've got a thermometer, that's all you really need. A thermometer's not that expensive. Grinders. Grinders are an interesting one, 'cause a lot of home grinders their particle distributions can be quite off sometimes. So like the Wilfa grinder, I absolutely love at home. I love using that for making coffee at home, for pour overs and anything. But I wouldn't really try and use it in a coffee cupping scenario unless I really had to. If you can afford it, get an EK or a Malconic grinder, what's it called? Tanzania is kind of like a cheap version of the EK43 and like the little brother of the Guatemala lab grinder. So if you can get a Malconic grinder for your cupping, if you're getting really serious about it, I definitely recommend one of them. Scales, there's so many different scales that you can get. Harios, they're drip scales. They'll do the job. They're maybe not quite as accurate as one would particularly like if you're going to do super accurate cupping. Ohaus, the scales upstairs, they are like ridiculously accurate. You can breathe on it and it'll mess it up. So yeah, have a look into different scales. But again, if you're just doing it at home and just kind of testing yourself and getting into it, don't worry too much about that, as long as you're consistent with everything that you're doing. I think that's one of the main subjects that I talked about, again, in my previous videos. Go and watch them. Yeah, consistency is key in cupping. Make sure you're doing everything consistent and you're not double dipping. It's another rule of cupping. Don't double dip when you're cupping. Alright, I hope this has helped a little bit. Yeah, do all the liking and subscribing. I'm loving all the likes that we're getting in a minute. It's awesome. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Peace!